Well, hi. Is it just you?
It is just me. I was just about
Oh,
to
you're
disconnect and
about.
call it a day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is like the 11th hour. I was just running a little late for my last meeting. I did want to. I did have a couple of things to in your point about just pipe up and tell us the housekeeping first. Okay. Yeah, it's also not urgent, so it's fine.
I
Um,
I just like when the person that's got all the news is able to stick around for giving all the news.
I don't have like it's not like there's like news in capital letters and then there's like news in lowercase letters and it's like lowercase letter news. Like FYI, business as usual is continuing to business as usual and here's some like routine stuff. So but
So I saw a few things and I kind of put them on the agenda that would be
oh
related
yeah.
to stuff that you've been working on. So one of them was
Okay.
your email to the TOB the other day
Yeah.
that said,
Yeah.
"Hey, the security announce is going to have a new person on there paying attention." Is that the security announce list when someone sends a notification to the maintainers? Or is that the announce if the
Maybe.
maintainers say, hey, we got a security vulnerability that we are publicizing?
That is the publicizing,
Okay.
it's sort of the thing that we use just to let the community know that something has been identified and remediated or is being, it's how you communicate with that broader group. It is the broader group. You still have the more focused list for folks who are able,
Sure.
and have access and, should it's the less, need to know kind of group.
Yeah. No, there's the internal when someone reports something that it needs to get to the maintainer so that we can solve it. But I just wanted to make sure that we weren't saying, hey, we're going to have another person paying attention to that internal one.
Yeah, no, this is
Okay.
more of the um and yeah. So I
That's
think
cool.
there have been some question about, that we do I think when there is a process that Sam has highlighted. It's like you still have to respond to questions. We don't like looky loos, but this all the questions are satisfactory and or all the responses to those questions were satisfactory and um,
Is
they followed the
this
process and it was good.
is this potentially like an embargo list where you get it out to people ahead of time before it goes completely public? Because otherwise, I don't
I,
see the reason that it just doesn't go to anybody that wants to have
yeah,
it.
I think it's sort of that next stage, I suppose. So that those folks who are running, 'cause looking at the folks on that list, they are organizations for which such news would be very salient, you know. So yeah, I think
Okay.
that's the
So possibly embargo might be the embargo list might be a better term for at least what I'm thinking of.
yeah. And I think if it would make sense to kind of clarify through updating the description of those lists somewhere, like let's do it. Just that actually probably would help. Um, so that sounds good. Can do that.
All right. Got that all in the notes there. Um, the next one, back to you again, is the Container Plumbing Day stuff and the open source
Yeah.
summit.
So I'm really I'm kind of in discovery, I suppose, of like, okay, well, was what was it last year? What was it like? Was it successful? This was not I joined you after. And also what was sort of like communicated um before um without what's the word? I don't want to, like there was maybe some miscommunication, misinformation, or just sort of, what stuff
It
happens.
this last year was the
Um,
handover year. Because
Yeah.
originally I think it was all Red Hat. And so I think they were handing it over to the LF. And so this is the first year that that handover happened.
So they and I asked about and all of this came about just because we're like looking at um the budget and what the trademark board had approved on the budget in 2023 for 2024 was a certain amount. It was over budget um by a significant factor. Not a lot of money here, but like the budget said, I think 15, and then the total event started costed 30, which is not a lot of money, frankly. So I'm not wanna, but it's just a
Yeah.
matter of like that's
But you're
since
off
that's
by
a
a factor or two. So it's,
right. So why like why was it that, and then I've kind of got some other information. So um full, full stop. Container Plumbing Days is happening. It's happening per the website, um, which is already up, by the way. And we are going. I had a call with our events team, got a lot of back story and back data and all that kind of stuff. So I understand now. And the Container Plumbing Days 2025. It is co-located with the Open Source Summit Europe event, so that will still be the case. But just like last year, it will be a separate thing that people can attend just that thing if they would like, or they can attend the full summit, and they'll have like the opportunity. People will have the opportunity to sponsor Container Plumbing Days. I talked to Sam. Sam thought it was a really great event last year. The issue, I think, for the project's perspective, is like it doesn't look like it was super duper like it was 60 people thereabouts, according to the events team. And I think we maybe want to see more folks there given the cost of doing something like that. And so let's see if we can drive like participation at Container Plumbing Days. And then if not and our max is like 100, then in 2026 let's just do like the lower cost option, which is sort of the free mini summits that I mentioned in uh,
yeah.
chat.
Traditionally, the OCI in-person meetings have been like the 2 hour meeting at KubeCon or Open Source Summit that they just
Yeah.
get us a room. We have people dial in if they want to, but otherwise it's maybe a dozen people in the room just kind of
Hmm.
chatting for a couple hours and then they go off to the next set of meetings they need to go to. So
Yeah.
it's not really an event per se. It's more just an extra birds of a feather gather around folks that don't
Yeah.
have a chance to talk all the time. The turning it into its own event and having it kind of the Container Plumbing Days history there. My next question is going to be who's organizing and working on all the publicity and is there a CFP?
Yeah.
What's the format? All those kind of questions.
Yeah, that is a great question. And that is something I hope to get a little bit more clarity on, like which specific people on our events team are going to do that for 2025. But a lot of this is going to be just primarily driven by the LF events team in terms of like logistics and publicity and sponsorship sales and all that kind of stuff. I believe there were a handful of folks from the OCI trademark board in particular who participated in like CFP review and things like that. Certainly anybody here that is interested in doing that, let me know. We'll put you on the programming committee for that. Um, but yeah, um, that's the
So if they've got the CFP, do we know the format? Is it going to be, well, I guess if they're doing a full Container Plumbing Days, how long is
let me
that?
go to the event page and see if
Scheduled just
they.
one day, Thursday 28th. Is that Thursday 28th? You're saying that's associated with Open Source Summit EU?
Right, it's in the same building. We will. container plumbing days, yeah. Do they have the CFP open? No, okay, so that'll be something that we have to get live. But it'll be open actually alongside the, actually, let me see if that's open yet too. Uh, 1 second, I apologize. Go to
No worries.
this. Nope. Okay, so they don't have it open yet. So when people go to submit a CFP, they're actually going to be using the same CFP flow process for the Open Source Summit Europe event. It's just in the back end, then we tag it for container plumbing days. And so we'll just get that. So when they open the CFP for OSSEU, at the same time, the container days event will open as well.
Okay. And so full CFP there. And is that,
And
since
that's
they're,
not live yet.
what's that?
It's not live yet. They
Not
won't open until probably mid
not live, but I'm
Q1.
just trying to get an idea of the format itself because I see there the schedule at a glance says, keynote sessions, lightning talks. Is that just a half-day event, or are we thinking a full-day event?
I think that it's a full day. That's a good question. I will ask. I don't know. It'll be whatever it was last year.
Yeah.
Um,
Trying
but
to
I'm
work out
pretty
how
sure.
much content they're going to get within there. And
Yeah. And I don't know if any Brian or Ravi, did you either of you happen to be at Container Plumbing Days last year at Seattle? Was it?
Seattle.
Was it Seattle or Vancouver? Or I feel like it was in the,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was off in that direction.
Yeah.
Ron, I see you coming off mute, but we're not hearing you.
It was, yeah, if it was Seattle, I was
Yeah.
probably there, but I don't recall. Thank you. I don't recall what I had for like lunch yesterday, so certainly don't recall where I
I do, but only
was.
because I have the same thing for lunch every day. I'm
Um,
just that boring.
yeah. uh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so I wasn't there either. I was there for the prior year when it was virtual, and that was when it was still Red Hat managing it. And
Hmm.
they had 2 full days of talks. I think it was single track, pretty sure, but it was a
Yeah.
lot of talks, a lot of good content. And I think because it was virtual, they were able to pull a lot of people in for that. I don't know, when they went back to in person, I feel like they probably lost some folks in that transition just because people can't always travel. But then,
I think also in the days of virtual, they ended up splitting the same amount of content over more time because of Zoom fatigue and having people kind of, be locked up. But I can't, certainly it's only one day. Maximally, it's not gonna
I'll
two-day
say
event.
I'm not sure that, let me see if I can pull this up. Yeah, container plumbing. Let me look at the videos because they have all their videos from before. So from 2003, they've got 2 days, a whole bunch of videos. It was not a it was not a light session. They had a lot of content in there. So I'll drop the link here for anybody that wants to see their previous years that they've done. And I'd have to go dig around for, see if they've got on the LF site. Thanks for attending. YouTube event schedule for this 1 year. Now this is one summit. Took me to, I'm looking to see. Events, maybe. No. Yeah, I think it's taking me the wrong schedule for this. So I don't know if I can pull up the schedule for last year when they did it. And I know if I click around too many times, I've been rate limited from looking at the schedule for LF events.
Oh,
I'm like, why do you rate limit this stuff?
oh man. Yeah, I'm sure we can get this like concrete data. I think the more salient thing for in the immediate purposes, there will be container filming days. It will present an opportunity to get not just OCI folks together, but also, related, OCI and friends, maybe the way to put it, and folks that would be interested in attending can do so either as part of Open Source Summit or as part of their just come to come to this. Um, and if you want to participate in like the program, we can build that together as well. So um, yeah, that's it. That's kind of the
Okay.
deal.
Yeah, I was clicking around the site to see if I could find anything from the previous events on that one, but can't get it for last year.
Okay.
But yeah, the more we can figure out on what they've got in terms of format and whatnot. And then I'm just trying to think of how you folks are going to make the trip over to Amsterdam. Hopefully a lot, but I don't know.
I suspect I'll be there.
Maybe I'll put that call in that favor and see if somebody wants to sponsor some of my travel funds there. All right. Yeah, Brian's saying probably otherwise. Rom is looking over some stuff right now. Yeah, so other than that, the OCI stuff that's not the meta, but is more like what we got going on, was a little bit of discussion on some PRs being reviewed and then one open issue that I threw out there. And so I wasn't sure, Rom or Brian, if you want to chat about the canonical JSON stuff.
Yes, that is, yes. So can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. If we want reproducible images, which I believe we want, so that makes us independent of the tooling, right? So that is what the big win is. And I think in terms of being a standards body and standards, I think that's actually a pretty important goal. Mm. So I am in favor of that in general. How to achieve it is a different problem altogether. So at least one thought is, in the spec, at least we mandate that whatever we are shown in the spec is the order that we expect all the tooling to produce, right, and consume. That is one thing. And then
So,
more.
so we expect it only because that's the way the Go JSON tooling itself works. It's not us saying it, it's just the JSON tooling itself does it that way.
Yeah, but that's fine. So let's keep that part separate. So what you're saying, yes, we will take the output of whatever we have been doing, and that's how we are going to mandate it going forward. And then whatever tooling is going to consume or produce these specs, right? So whatever the output, then that you want to use ordered maps to make sure that the order is correct that way. So that is what I think is a way to achieve it. Mm. But if you just say plain JSON, then all rules go out of the window, because JSON is just JSON, right? So if you are looking for reproducibility, then we say this is the order, and you get there by using ordered maps, and then you marshal that way.
Yeah, I feel like there are three options we're looking at. One is just to drop that section entirely and say we're not doing canonical. People output whatever they want to output, and reproducibility is not a guarantee. The other is to document the status quo, which is that a lot of tools use the Go implementation. A lot of tools import these structs as they're defined on our side. And our order does not necessarily match what a canonical order would be. We've got our own ordering in there. And so we could document the status quo. Or we can go to the third option and say that what you should be doing is putting it in the canonical order, putting an alphabetical order there. That could mean that we keep the spec, that section of spec that I linked to as is, but modify all of our structs. Just reordering fields, nothing else in there, just changing the order on all the fields. There's one or two places that's going to bite us, though.
Okay, so there is an option 4, which is don't worry about the lexicographic ordering requirement, whatever that's coming out of there. Leave the order that we have as is, and then say that all tooling must order it like that. That is
That would be
option
the status
4.
quo. That I think is option 2. That's the status quo.
Yeah, status quo is also tying in the implementations, right? A lot of these implementations are Go-based implementations, right? So that's why we don't care about them. But let's say somebody comes up with a Rust-based implementation, I think they may do it their own way. So that is not status quo at that point. So
so when I say status quo, I'm documenting what a majority of the implementations out there
yeah.
today are doing. And so I think majority of them are Go implementing it this way.
Correct. And which would mean that then somebody will come and say, hey, I implement this Rust, and you claim reproducible images regardless of the tooling, then that breaks, right? So that's why I'm saying option 4, which is whatever we have right now, keep it as is. So the rest of the tooling will continue to work. And any new tooling that needs to come in has to honor that ordered map thing. So which would also mean that in future, Go also would have to do it. Go implementations will also have to honor it with ordered maps. So that's what I'm saying.
I think 2 and 4 are the same. We're just wording it differently. So
okay.
I'm on board with what you're saying for 4, and then that just replaces whatever I said for 2.
Okay.
So we can go that direction. We can go the direction of everything needs to be in an alphabetical order and modify the spec to be able to do that.
Too big a lift. Not worth it.
I don't think it's a big lift. It's just an annoying lift because it changes a bunch of lines that people are going to wonder why we moved them all around. But there is something that's going to bite us, which is that there are the, I forget the term for it that Go uses. They've got the unnamed fields in a struct where you just put the type and not the actual name for the type. And so we do that for the platform. We'll import the platform directly into the image config so that all the platform fields are there available inside the image config, or maybe we do that also in the descriptor. When you do that, those then get ordered however they're getting ordered. You don't control the alphabetical order of the platform fields and the stuff you're importing it adjacent to. You got 3 fields in one, 3 fields in the other. They just get merged together somehow.
The somehow part is the worrying part. Okay, so
that's where we get bitten.
yeah, that's why sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, other than that, changing the spec wouldn't be that big of a lift. I would say that there would be like an option number 5 or whatever number we're up to, which is to say that the Go implementation should transition over to another JSON encoding tool. Maybe JSON v2 will do this stuff for us, and that just goes away at that point. I'm kind of leaning toward your option 4, honestly, but I don't think Tianan is on board with that.
No, see, as engineers, yes, we like to do all these beautiful things, okay, with standard recipes and all of that stuff. But the real world doesn't work like that. So what if you add new fields? What if you deprecate old fields? We have to think about all of those scenarios. And
the new and old fields don't bother me, because if we define that this all needs to be alphabetical order, then we just add new fields in that location of the spec, and then we would, when you delete an old field, you delete the old field. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah, at that point, the schema versioning will take care of those things, what is expected and what is not, and there's those kinds of things, right? So
Those are also, usually we say emit empty, and so if the field is not used, it doesn't show up in there at all, and so that doesn't mess with old tools. If you do use a new field, then you're intentionally not trying to be reproducible with an old tool that doesn't know that old field, that doesn't know the new field.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so the new fields doesn't bother me as much. I saw Tianon picking on that one, and I didn't quite follow where that was going either.
Yeah. So between canonical Go, canonical JSON, and canonical OCI as we speak, right? We will call it canonical OCI. I think I am at least my vote is on whatever we have today is canonical OCI. Okay, so that's my version of my definition of canonical, and I think that's probably the safest option, at least in my opinion.
Sam, you jumped in as we were chatting about canonical JSON.
Should I leave?
Drop the link there in the chat for you. Not sure if you have any thoughts on this one. Tianon went one way, I went another way. I think Rom is going the direction I was thinking, and so figure I'm just pushing this out there to get as much feedback as I can from different folks.
I know pre-OCI, like some of the really early Docker image formats were very formatting dependent, but we don't have that problem in OCI.
We don't have the problem that Docker was solving because we're not trying to do the signed images off the canonical JSON output. But we do say in the spec that we recommend canonical JSON in the image spec. We say that, but we don't actually do it anywhere. And our Go definitions are intentionally not canonical if you follow the Go JSON marshaller, specifically the field ordering.
Yeah, I don't know that I see the value for it here personally. And so dropping that section would make sense to me.
All right, so we got 2 votes for Tianon, 2 votes for me. Brian, you might have to be the tiebreaker. Yeah,
Well,
the push
Brendan,
that I was making was reproducibility in terms of people I see reproducible images getting more and more attention. So having 2 different tools that are able to reproduce the same image build would be kind of nice.
okay. I can understand why you would be interested in that. I feel like that might be better called out as a separate goal, though, in the spec, and like describe other things that are going to matter toward reproducibility, right? Like reproducibility is also going to matter toward things like the tar ordering, tar options, compression settings, right? All of those things are going to matter for reproducibility, not just the JSON of a config or a manifest.
Yep. Yeah, the direction I've been telling people in the past is if you've got a tool that's building an image, the only way it's reproducible is if you use that exact same version of that exact same tool on another machine and try to rebuild it. And even then, hopefully you don't have timestamps all over the place.
I mean, I do think that the reproducible builds project is not focused, at least my understanding is that it's not focused on reproducibility between tools, mostly just reproducibility between setups that are effectively consistent with each other. So same versions of things and the same like environment variables and options that are used to configure the tooling.
Yeah. That's been what I've told people in the past. I'm looking toward if there's a way we can get to a world where we improve that even better, but that's a longer term, bigger vision, and this is just like a speed bump in the way of that. Brian, you're being quiet over there. Any thoughts? I'm going to take that as an, oh,
Sorry,
go ahead.
I'm coding and fixing bugs at the same time as listening.
Any thoughts on whether or not the JSON should be canonical that's generated from OCI tools to aid in reproducibility?
Seems like best effort is kind of the only way to go for me. I don't know. It's like, it's really nice to have reproducibility, but it's not necessarily easy to mandate that.
Yeah. Today, what the spec has in it is it says that you should use canonical JSON, which means all the fields are alphabetically ordered. But then in all practical uses, we're pointing to the Go implementations, and all of our structs are struct order that's not alphabetical.
Yep.
So we say one thing, we do another thing. All the implementations do the other thing. Where do we find that correction in there? Cool. Well, I think I probably pulled you away from fixing your bugs for long enough there.
No. It seems like if we want to fix it, having a JSON marshaller for Go that handles the canonical stuff in OCI would be helpful.
That would be awesome. I need to look at version 2 of the JSON marshaller because that's been in discussions over on the Go side. They're going to redo this completely. I need to see if that would be a feature of that because I don't believe it's a feature right now of the version 1 at all. And everybody's on version 1. So if version 2 changes this, that would be awesome. All right. I've at least planted the seed in a few people's heads there. So if you have other thoughts, feel free to drop them over in the issue. We can sort through that. There are 4 pull requests that are open over there, ready for review. Maybe we just need to make Rom a maintainer because it's Tina and myself, and we don't have Cypher, Sajay, Stevo, or John here. So yeah, don't have any other maintainers that can review any of those this meeting. So I'll leave those be. Other than that, does anybody have other topics you want to discuss? The only administrative that I've thrown on the thing is that the next 2 meetings we've got canceled for the holidays. So next week and January 2nd, we're going to cancel both of those. And then we'll come back after that. But before we call this one early, anybody have any other OCI topics you want to chat about? Oh, Joy's coming back on. Is this just for the grand runaway,
This
or
is
do you
just
have
for
other?
no, this is just for like the kibitzing. I'm curious, what does OCI want for Christmas or the holiday, your, appropriate seasonal holiday?
I just want another decoration for the Festivus poll.
Another decoration for your Festivus bowl. Awesome. See.
Are you not a Festivus celebrator?
Well, we actually did do like during COVID, my friends and I did like a Festivus Zoom thing. And do you know the comedian John Lovitz?
Yep.
Name sounds
he's-
familiar, but not
he's
ringing a bell.
got, yeah, okay, John Lovitz. I got a cameo for my friend group, the happy Festivus message from John Lovitz to our group. I still have it somewhere. I will send it to you. It was the weirdest but also very funny thing. If you could not sure what to get somebody, can I recommend getting them a cameo from some like rando celebrity? It is a riot.
My entertainment for last week was discovering the RFC 6919. And I was very inspired to say maybe we should start putting some of these inside of our specs. I will note the release date on this is April 1st. But yeah, some of the, we normally define the must or the should, must not, and may and whatnot in all of our spec language. But this also includes the must, but we know you actually won't, or that we should kind of consider this, or that you really should not. Debating whether or not we should start putting a couple of these in our specs.
Oh, sorry, I just realized it was the like we'd really prefer if you didn't do the following. Oh,
There you go with all that official language.
yes, I'm pretty sure that's a.
That,
All right, I need to call my husband really quick. He's blowing me up for. Oh, we have an electrician at our house. I'm sorry.
okay. Yeah, that RFC came from a Mastodon thread where someone was saying that it's recommended but repulsive. It is
saw that
frequently
one.
misunderstood. Nobody bothers with this bit of the spec code. So
Yeah, I saw that one. That was good.
it's like, yeah, I could see us using some of this in the OCI specs. Nobody actually does this. We just say it. All right. With that, that's a little bit of holiday cheer here. I think folks here are probably ready to roll out and have a little bit of time off. So hope everybody has a good couple weeks. Happy holidays, happy new year, all that good stuff. And if you feel like chatting on some of the issues out there, the PRs, feel free. But otherwise, enjoy some time off. That's all.
Thanks.
Cheers
Have a good
all.
one. Happy holidays.